Well, if I'm not mistaken, that was a meaning of life question there, wasn't it? Wherefore and whenceforth meaning. Good, a good way of winding up, if you like.
42. The taker's got to be the galaxy.
I missed something there. It went past my bat. And slightly put me off my stroke as well. Just a second. Where was it? Yes, meaning. But before I go to that, just two things on Dinesh in his last remarks. I don't think it can fairly be said in front of an audience like this that the refusal to take a faith-based position that has no evidence, in other words, a belief that there is an afterlife, or a belief that there is a supreme being, if I say I don't believe it because there's no evidence for it, it isn't even casuistry to say that that is, on my part, a faith-based statement. It's instead a refusal of faith and a refusal to use it as a method of reasoning. So it's not comparing like with like at all. Second, not just completely to defend Sigmund Freud, Dinesh is right in criticizing Freud's future of an illusion to the extent that when people are subject to wish thinking, we might expect them to be purely hedonistic, only to want the best, to say, let's imagine a comforting future while we are about it. There's something that will cheer us all up. As a matter of fact, we're not as nice as all that. We don't want everyone going to hell. Excuse me, we don't want everyone going to heaven. As the old English sect used to say, we are the pure and chosen few, and all the rest are damned. There's room enough in hell for you. We don't want heaven crammed. And the great existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre said that hell is other people, but actually what many people mean is hell is for other people. And they have just as strong a wish thought that other people suffer eternally as they have the thought and the wish for themselves that they should be in paradise. You can see it very explicitly when you see other versions of the paradise myth, like the Muslim one, or early Christian versions, where part of the pleasure of being in heaven was knowing that other people were burning forever. And that's what you'd expect of a predatory, fearful, partly evolved primate species that was making up a religious story about itself. It sounds exactly as you would expect it to do. All right, well, believing in none of that, in fact, thinking it's an evil and futile belief, people have the nerve to ask me, well, if you don't believe in heaven and hell, what gives your life meaning? Do you not detect a slight insult as well as a slight irrationality to that question? You mean I'd have much more meaning in my life if I thought that I would die and I'd be given one chance, or would have been given while I was alive, one chance, and if I'd made a mistake, I'd be condemned eternally. That was the kind of judge I'd be facing. And in the meantime, it would be advisable to live my life in propitiation of this supernatural dictator. That would lend more meaning to my life than my view counter to Pascal, contra Pascal, that if there's any such judge, I'll be able to say, at least I never faked belief in you in order to win your approbation, sir, or ma'am, as the case might be. And if you are as reported, you'll have detected that those were my thoughts, and at least I wasn't a hypocrite. Pascal says, no, at least pretend you believe. It's win-win. This is corrupt reasoning. It's the reasoning of a huckster. And it lends no meaning to life at all. Still, why do I care? For example, why do I care? Why do I care about Rwanda? Why do I care about my Iranian friends fighting theocracy? Why do I give up my own time to them? Well, I'll tell you why, and I say it, I suppose, at the risk of embarrassment. It gives me great pleasure to do so. I like to feel that since we only have one life to live, that I can help people make it free as best I can, and assist them in their real struggle for liberty, which in its most essential form is the struggle against theocracy, which is the original form that dictatorship and violation of human rights actually takes. I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy the sort of people it makes me come in contact with. And I like giving blood. Passively, I mean. I don't like spilling it, but I don't mind having it run off me in a pint, because strangely enough, it's a pleasurable sensation. and you know that someone else is getting a pint of blood, and you aren't losing one, because with a strong cup of tea or Bloody Mary, you'll get it back. Or both, you'll get it back. So it used to appeal to me in my old socialist days. It's the perfect model for human solidarity. It's in your interest to do it. Someone else benefits, you don't lose, and if, like me, you have a rare blood group, you hope that other people do the same thing, so there's enough blood when your own turn comes. And it's an all-round agreeable experience. And it's not like being fearful of judgment. It's much more meaningful than that. I think it's often believed of people like myself that there's something joyless in our view. Where is the role in the atheist world, the unbelieving world, for the numinous or the ecstatic or the transcendent? Well, come on. Those of us who can appreciate poetry and music and love and friendship and solidarity are not to be treated as if we have no imagination, as if we have no moral or emotional pulse, as if we don't feel things at nightfall when music plays and friends are around, as if we don't get great pleasure when we meet. We don't meet to repeat incantations we've had dinned into us since childhood. We don't feel so insecure that we must incant and recite and go through routine and ritual. We meet to discuss our differences and to discuss the latest challenges to our worldview from people like Dinesh. We try and use the method of the Socratic dialogue even when its conclusions are unwelcome to ourselves. And though, therefore, I can't recommend atheism as morally superior, I can say that at least it faces the consequences of its belief with a certain stoicism. We might wish for eternal life, but we're not going to award it to ourselves as a prize for work we haven't yet done. So my closing recommendation is, why not try the Stoical and Socratic life for yourself? Why not examine more closely the tradition, the great tradition that we have from Lucretius and Democritus that goes through Galileo, Spinoza, Voltaire, Einstein, Russell, and many others. A tradition, I think, much greater than the fearful and the propitiatory and the ritualistic. I've been enormously grateful for your kindness in having me here. I want to thank you again. Good night.